All right, so I'm going to use the offset surface command again, but this time I'm going to use it on solid objects. So the first one I'm going to start off with just a simple box. I'll do, I'm going to make a box and I'll just do 20, 20 by 20. And zoom in on this box. Okay, so right now this is just a solid box, but essentially what I want is I want each one of these surfaces or sides to be essentially like a thickness of a wall, for example. So I'm going to start off by exploding it. And I can individually, so now that I have the separate parts, if I wanted to, I can individually just offset this offset surface. Again, just make sure your distance is set, at least for this example, distance 1, corner sharp, and solid yes. And if I click it on the inside, I can now offset this, and I would just have to offset each one individually, or I'm going to hit undo. I'm going to do these all at the same time. So select them all, offset surface. For now, I'll have them offset to the outside with all my white arrows pointing out. Distance 1, corner sharp, solid yes. And I end up with something like this, which is fine if that's what you need. But if you want all your edges to line up a little bit better, then we probably want to offset these where the white arrows are pointing inside. So I'm going to go to Edit, Undo, offset surface one more time. And instead of clicking on each surface individually, the very last option over here says Flip All. I'm going to click Flip All, so all the arrows are pointing in. And again, distance 1, corner sharp, solid yes, and hit Enter. And now I have all these individual surfaces now have thickness to this. So say, for example, if I were to move this top piece up, it's essentially like a box. It's not extremely accurate because these two pieces, you can see like they start to overlap here, which technically in the real world can't happen, but this is happening digitally, so that's fine. If you actually wanted to model this accurately, obviously you would have to have one of these pieces and have it and move it there. I'll use scale 1D to scale this in. And I'd have to do that to this side as well as to the bottom. And I would have to scale in the top so that it fits on the inside. So I'd have to scale these pieces in. But for now, if you get the idea of using this command just to give you some quick thicknesses for walls, that's fine. Let me try to move this. Just move this back into place. All right, so now we're going to try an object that's a little bit more complicated, so than a box, something that's more than just 90 degrees all the way around. I'm going to click and hold down on this box icon. I'm going to come over here and click on Truncated Pyramid. And number of sides, I'm going to say, make sure that it's set at 5. I have ortho turned on, and I'm going to click somewhere on the screen. And I'm going to set my first distance at 10. And then click on the screen. The second distance, the height, I'm going to set it at 20 and hit Enter. And then the last one is going to be set at, I'll set it at 5. And I'll just zoom select it on this object. All right, so I'm going to do the same command. I'm going to explode this, offset surface. I'm going to do flip all. And again, distance 1, corner sharp, solid yes. And for the most part, it works pretty good. Like mainly because of the way the angles are pointing. On the top, there's a lot of overlap happening. So for example, if I were to move this top piece out of the way, there's a lot of overlap. But again, that's okay. The part where there's some problems is down at the bottom. And it's mainly because of the way everything is being angled. So one way to start to solve this is, it's not the best way, but for now it'll work, is if I just use just a trim command. So for now, I'm going to try to trim the overall perimeter. So I'm going to just do trim. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to copy this. So I make a copied version. I'm going to do trim. I'm going to select all these top pieces. And what I don't want to select is this bottom piece down here. And then hit enter. I'm going to zoom in over here and just trim this one piece just by clicking on it. And it should have trimmed all the way around. If I had selected all the top pieces, it should have trimmed all the way around. The only bad thing with using trim for this case is if I move one of these pieces out of the way, when using the trim command, it makes these objects hollow. So now I essentially have two pieces. But in this case, it's okay. We'll make this work. But then I have all these strange little strange pieces over here. So again, I'm just going to fix these by doing a series of trim commands and just zooming in and just trimming off these extra pieces. I'll just do these two for now, but if I went all the way around the perimeter, I could essentially just trim off all of the pieces. And again, it's not the best solution, but it'll work for now, because if I were to move one of these pieces out of the way, and I were to look underneath, I can now see that it's hollow underneath. And it's hollow inside. But for now, it'll fix the problem. And the reason why I made a copy of this is if you wanted to, you can just use the trim command by selecting the entire thing and just coming in here and trimming that. And I'm going to come over here into one of my side views just because it's faster. And let's see if this is going to work. If I trim the bottom as well. Let's see if this works. I might be trimming off too much, or I'm gonna have to check as soon as this is done. Nope, that seemed to work. So I have the bottom trimmed off. And I don't have any pieces that are sticking out. I did it all at the same time, all at once. Yeah, not the best solution, but at least I now have these walls with thickness. So if I were to do a clipping plane, I should be able to have some thickness to these. If I start to move my clipping plane, yeah, I can start to see my walls now have some thickness to them. I can even rotate my clipping plane. And again, see that everything has thickness and it lines up around the perimeter.